This is For the Governed, a podcast series brought to you by Athalonz. Here are your hosts, Tim Markison and Ron Cates.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Athalonz podcast. I'm Ron Cates. With me is Tim Markison, the CEO and founder of Athalonz. And today's extra exciting because we're going to hear Tim's donut story. Tim, tell us about the donut story.
Let me first put some context around it. So I started my patent law career working for Motorola. It was a great place to learn how to become a patent attorney. I started in the late 80s there. And during the late 80s and early 90s, Motorola was just making money hands over fists because that was when the cellular telephone market was erupting. And they owned it.
I had one of those very little flip phones they made. It was incredibly small.
Yep. So, I mean, Motorola literally created the cell phone market. They were the first ones that came out with the brick. Very, very innovative company when the Galvins were running it. And one of the things that they had implemented in the factory in the late 80s was they had their 10x cycle time reduction so that they wanted to continually get faster and faster at building product. But at the same time, they had their Six Sigma quality program. So they essentially wanted to get better and faster at building product. So make them faster with less defects.
Same quality or higher quality was the goal?
Higher quality and do it faster.
Okay.
So, and they were having a great deal of success in manufacturing, following certain guidelines on how to do things better and faster. So they were having so much success with that, they said, well, we need to do this across the company. So I was in the patent department at the time, and that was a corporate function. So up until that time, we were immune. But they said, no, this is going to be institutionalized across the whole company. Everybody needs to do things faster and better. So 10x cycle time reduction and Six Sigma quality. Well, most attorneys in the patent department didn't really take it seriously, but I was still in law school, so I was maybe three years into my patent law career. So from a patent law standpoint, I was still a newbie, very little experience. But my boss.
You had not been told a lot of times that cannot be done.
That is correct.
Right.
So I think part of my inexperience just said, okay, that's just another thing I need to learn, how to do this better and faster. And then my boss encouraged to try different things. So I was playing around with different things and figured out a technique on how to write patents better and faster. And it worked, and it consistently worked to the point where the executive VP of the patent department says, okay, we need to institutionalize this throughout the patent department. So I was instructed to go to all the different patent departments. I was in their corporate headquarters in Schaumburg, Illinois. They had offices in Florida, in Texas, in Phoenix, and a couple other places. So I had to go to each of those places and teach senior patent attorneys that have been doing this for 15, 20 plus years on how to write a patent better.
I'm certain that you were incredibly well received with open arms.
Oh, they loved me. I got the nickname the Golden Boy, and it was not affectionate. So I was basically to them this snot-nosed punk coming here to tell us how to do our job better. Not very well received, but it's what I was instructed to do, and the techniques worked. And the handful of people that actually were open-minded enough to try them, it actually worked for them and quite well. So during that year, Motorola had what they called their total customer satisfaction competitions. And that was to identify the best ideas in that year that had the most contribution, most positive effect on the company. And the senior or executive vice president of my department, the patent department, he enrolled us, my idea, into that competition. And we ended up being one of 8 gold medalists. So my idea was one of the 8 best for that year. And we were the only non-manufacturing department to having a gold medal winning idea. So as part of that success, I received a promotion, and then I was offered to transfer to the department in Austin, Texas. And I love the city of Chicago, but the weather and traffic just wore me out. So I was more than happy to move to a nicer climate. Okay, so now this is where the donut story starts to actually kick in. I was not well received in Austin. My boss and his boss, who ran the Austin department, viewed me as a spy for the executive VP, because there was some inefficiencies in that department. So they were convinced that I was sent there to spy on them. But as part of my promotion, I was assigned a particular engineering group as my client. And so I had worked very closely with them. That was part of the technique, is really become essentially a part of their team. And so one day we were having a meeting in the office of the patent department. We were using the conference room. And we were reviewing a new product that they were developing to identify patentable ideas. And usually those meetings take 3 to 4 hours. And for whatever reason, we were very efficient. We got done in a few hours. So as is customary when you have meetings, you order coffee and donuts.
Sure.
So after the meeting, there was donuts left over. So I asked my admin, hey, email the department, tell them that, hey, there's leftover donuts in the conference room.
That's a nice thing to do.
I thought so.
Why waste them?
Exactly.
Make new friends this way.
Yeah. So 5 minutes later, my boss comes into my office and goes, who gave you the authority to order donuts? Now, at this time, I'm a senior patent attorney. I have the authority to spend thousands of dollars on any patent matter I deem fit. So it didn't even dawn on me to ask for permission to order $20 worth of donuts for my client, especially since it seemed conventional that there was always donuts at the meetings. So I responded, didn't know I needed permission. So he left, and about 10, 15 minutes later, he comes back into my office with the head of the department in Austin going, well, who gave you permission to order donuts? What made you think you could order donuts? And I'm starting to get irritated with this. So I reach into my wallet and I pull out a $20 bill, and I says, I didn't know it was going to be such a problem. Here, I'll pay for it myself. And he waves off the money. He goes, it's not the money that's the issue. It's that you don't follow policies and procedures. And I go, well, I didn't know there was a procedure on donut ordering, so perhaps you could send that to me. And so they left. I don't remember what happened next. So this was all taking place before noon. So, say 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day, I get a call from the vice president, who was officed in Phoenix, but he oversaw the Austin department, wanting to know my side of the donut story.
It's pretty simple. I ordered some donuts.
I kid you not. So I go, I didn't even think to ask for permission about donuts, since they're always at these meetings. And I said, how much time have the three of you spent deciding whether I could spend $20 on donuts? He goes, okay, and hangs up. So I'm like out of my mind with how stupid this is. So it's now 4:30 that afternoon, and the head of the Austin department comes into my office and starts to close the door. And I go, if this is about the frickin' donuts, get the hell out of my office. And he turned and walked and left. And I was dumbfounded with how just stupid this was. And there were many other issues, but I left Motorola shortly thereafter just because of how intolerable that environment was.
That's so petty.
It's insane. But the point is, and I've shared this story with a lot of people, part of it because it's just funny and unbelievable, but it also shows a systemic problem in large corporations. And to me, that's mid-management. And I've actually gotten to know the former CEO of Motorola pretty well. And we've actually talked about this. And what happens is in large corporations, you get average performers that are basically plodders. They just kind of plod along in their career, and they're adverse to risk. So these people stick around 10, 15, 20 years and work their way up into middle management. And the last thing that these type of people want to have is very talented people working for them. So they just make their life miserable, so these talented people leave. So large companies are left, majority of their good, talented young people are leaving because mid-management is making the environment untenable for them to work or to make a career there. So these large companies are left with average performing at best plodders that aren't risk takers, and all the good talent or most of the good talent's leaving.
Are they threatened?
It's not, for me personally, it wasn't threatened. It was just, they'd go out of my way to make my life miserable. So as an example, when I first moved to Austin, my admin would not come into my office. She was so afraid of me. And because they filled her head that I was the meanest SOB on the face of the earth. And it took her a month before she would come into my office. And then shortly thereafter, she goes, "Wow, you're nothing like what they said you were." I says, "Well, what did they tell you?" And well, basically that I was the meanest, orneriest son of a bitch in the world. But all kinds of things like that. They'd question everything I did. And they hated the fact that I could run circles around them intellectually with our clients' technology. So I was a huge threat to them. So
they lost an incredibly talented employee because of their short-sightedness.
Yeah,
and pettiness.
And I'm just one of tens of thousands of examples in large corporations. So it's a problem, which is, I think, part of the reason too why most innovation happens at smaller companies, because you're encouraged there to be creative and think. Where in larger companies you got mid-management that really is an impediment to creativity.
But your story personally, look what it led to.
Yeah. So for me, I left Motorola and went and worked in Austin for a large law firm. And, that was awful. I made it there 6 months, and then called the headhunter who found me that job. I says, "You got to get me out of here. I need something else." And that led me then to Nortel up in the Dallas area. And that was a whole different set of problems. And I'll do another blog on my stay at Nortel.
Ultimately, you became the Tim Marcuson you are today, one of the country's leading patent attorneys, CEO and founder of Athalonz, and all kinds of other ideas brewing that we can't talk about. So ultimately, good outcome.
It worked out well because it led me through this path. And, the path was pretty bumpy, but I don't think my life story is unique in that regard, where we all face challenges every day in our lives, and it's how we deal with them that really matters. And for me, I didn't want to be in a situation that made me uncomfortable. I kept looking for better and better situations for myself career-wise, but also for my family. That was kind of the interesting thing. It used to be Sunday night would roll around. It's like, crap, I got to go to work tomorrow. And then it turned into Sunday afternoon. Oh, crap, I got to go to work tomorrow. And then it was Sunday morning. And before long, it was the whole weekend. I was in a miserable mood the whole week because of how miserable my life was at work. So it had an effect on my family. So I had to get out of that environment for myself and my family.
And knowing you now, it's Sunday morning, you hop out of bed because you can't wait to do stuff.
Right.
That's work-related.
That's true.
That's a big difference.
It is. And it's really kind of funny because, for the last 33 years, a good part of my professional life has been doing patent law. And depending on the environment I'm in, it's the worst frickin' job ever or the best job ever. And it's all really on environment. And I've worked hard over the last couple of decades to make the environment I work in and the clients that I work for and the people that I work with to really work all well together. So the environment we create is very, very positive, and we do some pretty amazing things for our clients.